So on the human side, there's this incredible general malleability, plasticity of the human brain. The human brain adapts, adjusts, and so on. So
It's
that's
not that plastic, to be totally frank.
so there's a firm structure, but
There is.
nevertheless, there is some plasticity. And the open question is, sort of, if I could ask a broad question, is how much that plasticity can be utilized. Sort of on the human side, there's some plasticity in the human brain, and on the machine side, we have neural networks, machine learning, artificial intelligence. It's able to adjust and figure out signals. So there's a mysterious language that we don't perfectly understand that's within the human brain. And then we're trying to understand that language to communicate both directions. So the brain is adjusting a little bit. We don't know how much. And the machine is adjusting. Where do you see, as they try to sort of reach together, almost like with an alien species, try to find a protocol, communication protocol that works? Where do you see the biggest benefit arriving from, on the machine side or the human side? Do you see both of them working together?
I actually think the machine side is far more malleable than the biological side by a huge amount. So it will be the machine that adapts to the brain. That's the only thing that's possible. The brain can't adapt that well to the machine. You can't have neurons start to regard an electrode as like another neuron, because like neurons just, there's like the pulse, and so something else is pulsing. So there is that elasticity in the interface, which we believe is something that can happen. But the vast majority of the malleability will have to be on the machine side.
But it's interesting when you look at that synaptic plasticity at the interface side, there might be like an emergent plasticity, because it's a whole nother, it's not like in the brain, it's a whole nother extension of the brain. We might have to redefine what it means to be malleable for the brain. So maybe the brain is able to adjust to external interfaces.
There will be some adjustment to the brain, because there's going to be something reading and simulating the brain, and so it will adjust to that thing. But the vast majority of the adjustment will be on the machine side. This is just it has to be that, otherwise it will not work. Ultimately, like we currently operate on two layers. We have sort of a limbic, like primitive brain layer, which is where all of our kind of impulses are coming from. It's sort of like we've got like a monkey brain with a computer stuck on it. That's the human brain. And a lot of our impulses and everything are driven by the monkey brain. And the computer, the cortex, is constantly trying to make the monkey brain happy. It's not the cortex that's steering the monkey brain. It's the monkey brain steering the cortex.
But the cortex is the part that tells the story of the whole thing. So we convince ourselves it's more interesting than just the monkey brain.
The cortex is like what we call like human intelligence. So it's like that's like the advanced computer relative to other creatures. Other creatures do not have either. Really, they don't have the computer, or they have a very weak computer relative to humans. But it's like it sort of seems like surely the really smart thing should control the dumb thing, but actually the dumb thing controls the smart thing.
So do you think some of the same kind of machine learning methods, or whether that's natural language processing applications, are going to be applied for the communication between the machine and the brain, to learn how to do certain things like movement of the body, how to process visual stimuli, and so on? Do you see the value of using machine learning to understand the language of the two-way communication with the brain?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're a neural net, and that, AI is basically neural net. So it's like digital neural net will interface with biological neural net, and hopefully bring us along for the ride. But the vast majority of our intelligence will be digital. This is think of like the difference in intelligence between the cortex and your limbic system is gigantic. Your limbic system really has no comprehension of what the hell the cortex is doing. It's just literally hungry, or tired, or angry, or sexy, or something. And then that communicates that impulse to the cortex and tells the cortex to go satisfy that. So then a great deal of like a massive amount of thinking, like truly stupendous amount of thinking, has gone into sex without purpose, without procreation, which is actually quite a silly action in the absence of procreation. It's a bit silly.
Well,
so why are you doing it? Because it makes the limbic system happy. That's why.
That's why.
But it's pretty absurd, really.
Well, the whole of existence is pretty absurd in some kind of sense.
Yeah. But I mean, this is a lot of computation has gone into how can I do more of that with procreation not even being a factor. This is, I think, a very important area of research by NSFW.
An agency that should receive a lot of funding, especially after this conversation.
I propose the formation of a new agency.
Oh, boy.